to kind of raise that bar.
That extra gear, the first 3 steps.
Huge strides in the performance.
That I might not be the player I am today.
All right, welcome to another episode of Behind the Gear. And today we are sitting with Jacob Bryson. And Jake, you've got a pretty cool story. I mean, when you think back on kind of minor hockey through to now, you know, you're going into your first year pro, I guess, pretty cool. A really, really cool story. And it was all kind of, I always started out this way, but if someone asked you, hey, Jake, where are you from? Maybe somebody down in Buffalo, they said, hey, Jake, where are you from? Where would you tell them?
Well, I'm from London, Ontario.
Yeah.
I lived here my whole life. And then I moved away about 5 years ago to go play in the States. And then ever since then, I come home for the summer, but usually during the year, I'm in the States and I love it there. So
yeah,
it's kind of a
pretty boring life. Really, like you just live like a couple blocks away from your cousin. You guys just hang out your whole life and just you and Mitch Vandesample.
Oh, yeah. Kind of like brothers now. Like
yeah.
It's been so many years of us just living on the same street and stuff that
yeah.
Just, I don't know. He's kind of getting old, but
yeah. But it is cool to have a cousin buddy that. Or you guys kind of went through a lot of the same stuff all the way through, same birth year. And now you were a late birth year, so that kind of affected you a little bit at the draft where your draft year was, which is kind of nice for younger guys to get an extra year, you know, basically to develop and then hopefully show well when they get into their draft.
yeah.
But before that, kind of going back to minor hockey, were your parents, Mitch's parents, were they like gung ho on getting you guys into hockey? Like, did you start at 2-3 years old, kind of starting rep?
Yeah, I think 4 years old we started, and it's weird because I don't think Mitch's parents or mine really played hockey. So
yeah,
I don't know where the desire was to put us in hockey, but I think just with the friend group we had at a young age, I think everyone else was doing it, and then my parents did it too, and Mitch and I we played together our whole lives, and you know we had our other buddies like Sapula, you know, Kukarula, those guys.
Yeah,
they were very close at the time, and we just kind of carried hockey through with it. We went through with it, and ever since then, we haven't stopped playing.
Yeah, no, it's cool. And when you started playing, obviously, where you guys are, were you guys southeast, or were you guys, is that kind of what, like Bandits, I guess that is what kind of where you played your young, right? Like novice and stuff?
Yeah, we played for with SC Wild back then.
That's right.
And then it changed over. And then,
And for you, great, or 9 years old kind of is that change into like AAA, AA, travel hockey and Adam here in London, right? Yeah. Did you jump right into AAA at that point, or did it take a couple years to kind of make that jump, or did you go right away?
I went right away. I played AAA my whole life. Dave Warren was the coach for a majority of the years, and it was a good experience playing for him. He's one of the best coaches at that age, and I think he still is today. He still is. He's in the world of hockey still, and I know his son Johnny Warren was a good guy too. Yeah. But Mitch and I both played on that team for our whole lives, and ever since then, I never played AA or anything like that, but like you said earlier, I kind of was a bubble guy at times. Like people didn't know if I was supposed to make the team or if it was a lot of politics, which was I don't know. I was so young that I didn't even know what that was back then. But because Dave Warren was all his coach, and I mean, a lot of parents said Jacob's only on that team because of him. You know what I mean? So, and you know, I agree with you. I think Dave does a good job of developing. He was like heavy into minor hockey. A boy, you know, 2 boys playing and. You know, spent a lot of time, obviously gave a lot of his time to help you guys out, but you guys had a sick age group too, that 97 age group, because even spring teams and stuff, you guys were, you know, you had Konechny's and Krauses and you and all these guys. But going through the politics of stuff, and I'm going to assume your parents kind of sheltered you a little bit from that stuff, because I guarantee they were hearing more rumblings about, oh, Jake's just making it because he's played spring hockey with Dave Warren and all the guys, and that's why he's making that team. When did you kind of start understanding the politics of hockey as far as that kind of stuff, like that white noise from jealous parents, whatever it may be, right? Parents that have kids that play, or maybe they're just outsiders, doesn't matter. But when did you start kind of becoming aware of that a little bit, of that outside stuff? I think right around draft year for OHL is when I started to realize, you know, certain kids may get drafted because they've had parents that play. You know, that happens. And I kind of started to notice that. And I know my parents kind of talked to me a little bit about that. Like you see guys getting drafted, like they shouldn't be. They're not that good. You know what I mean? Like, and I guess at then I kind of understood. And then ever since then, you know, I've noticed a little bit, but I think once you get towards like pro hockey, it's more of just hard work. There's no more politics. Yeah. And, you know, especially playing college and stuff, like there's no more parent coaches anymore. So I think kind of right around that age group is where I noticed it. And then it kind of changes into, you know, you got to put that work in if you want to go the distance.
No, for sure. And I mean, I remember watching you play when you were young and, you know, kind of looking at, you know, talking about being on the bubble, a little bit of tryouts and stuff, but you're always an undersized defenseman, really kind of just as undersized defensemen were a thing, right? Like your years of minor hockey is kind of when guys that were a little bit smaller were kind of making their jump in the league as defensemen. Before that, it was big, strong, bulky defensemen.
Yeah.
And for you, I think, probably hit puberty a little bit later, which is super common for young kids, and that's out of your hands. It's going to happen when it happens, right? But you always had good feet. You always worked hard. You competed. You weren't scared.
Yeah.
But you weren't big, right? So as a defenseman, not being big, that the politics come in as far as people thinking, oh, it's politics. But I know firsthand, I know exactly why Dave Warren picked you. He knew you really well. You're a good kid. You work hard. If you look back, what are some of the reasons that you think that you made those teams? So aside from coaching Dave Warren, all that stuff doesn't matter, but just in that group of guys, when you look back at that whole group of, the team that was made through all those years, what are some of the reasons why you think that you made that team?
I think a big thing is just Dave knew I was a smart player. And, we had other coaches too. Like I know my dad coached for a year, which talk about politics. That was a big year for that.
Yeah.
People saying I only made a team because my dad's my coach, but Don Dixon coached for a year too. But I think, even with different coaches, I still made the team. I think that kind of showed myself that, I do have the talent of what it takes. But also I was behind guys like Mitch and Colton, who both work out here. Like they were always the top defensemen. So I knew myself, I wasn't going to be the best player, especially at that young age.
Yeah.
And I was probably the smallest player on the ice. So, and the game's changing now, I think. And back then that was a big thing. Like people are saying he's too small. And I think just my smartness on the ice and just, being able to make that first pass and stuff like that, being a simple player back then was a big thing. And I'm trying to carry that into my game now and, just be a simple player, but try not to worry about how big I am.
Yeah. Because there was a discrepancy for a while where like there, and I was a small player too, but I was a forward. So even on D, a lot of times you look back in the blue line, there's like 6 foot, 6'2", especially even at young ages, right? So for you going through it, as far as just being an undersized defenseman and kind of in those battles and playing and stuff, was there ever any doubt in your mind? Like, did you ever kind of listen? Because sometimes I know for me, and I'm sure it's for you, when somebody says I was too small, I just wanted to stick it up their ass. Like I was just like, no way. Like, I'll show you, But was there ever any doubt going through minor hockey where you're like, man, like my buddies have armpit hair and I don't have any armpit hair? Like you just kind of, going through stuff I went through it, just like, when am I going to grow? When am I going to get biceps? When am I, you know what I mean? Was there ever any doubt kind of going through where you're like, okay, maybe these guys are getting too big? Or did you always have the mentality of like, I don't care?
No, I think as I got older, I kind of developed that mentality of saying, I'm probably going to be a small guy for the rest of my life. And if I want to continue to play hockey, then I'm going to have to do something about it. So basically I kind of let it go in one ear out the other when people would say something about me, or it kind of motivate me, if anything, to get to that next level. And with the size that I am and was back then, like I just knew I had to work that much harder.
And I know your parents are very laid back. Like they're awesome, right? Like they just let you do your thing. They guide you. They kind of help you out. But I'm sure there wasn't a lot of rides home where you were getting screamed at or yelled at by mom and dad, unless mom was mad that you missed an open net or something like that. But for them, how is that support? Like if you think back right now on how your parents were through those times when your mom and dad would go to the rink and they'd be like, holy smokes, this team's huge and Jake's small, right? How are they through all that and kind of helping you navigate that? And was it ever an issue or just like, go out and play hard, just don't back down, keep going?
Yeah, no, my parents are awesome. There's some hockey parents that can be tough on their kids. Like my dad was tough on me, but he would never yell at me or anything. He was always very motivating. And if, anything did go wrong, or he would always make me believe that I could make this team or, do that and make that next step. So I think that's a big thing in minor hockey is you don't want your parents too controlling over the game, because then you kind of fall out of love with it if they're, you know what I mean? They give you too many tips and stuff like that and off the ice. But as a young kid, like you want your parents to give you tips and a general idea of what you can do out there on the ice, but you don't want them to be too much control. And I think that's where my parents did a great job. And Mitch's are the same as well. They've raised us so well, and I've learned so many good things from them that that doesn't affect me anymore.
Oh, that's awesome, man. And was there ever any talk about size? The reason I keep bringing size up is because there's a lot of young kids that are small and that are trying to play bantam hockey with contact, and mom and dad are scared, like, oh my God, he's going to get hurt. And then you start hearing that as a young kid and you're like, maybe I am going to get hurt. And then you shy away in the corner or you pull away, and then that's when you do get hurt, right? Was there any kind of chat about that? Or was there any kind of like, I guess, talking about your size at all?
Well, my parents, I don't think really mentioned it at all. They just let me play out there. Like I said, they motivated me. But I think myself, I was a little scared growing up, playing against these bigger guys. I did have that kind of mindset of if I go in the corner, this guy might kill me. And I think that's what, it would hurt me a little bit when I was playing at a young age. I knew big guys were on the ice, and I'd always do my research on their team, and I'd kind of get scared when I'd see them on the ice. But I think when I got kind of over that mindset, I think I turned into a really good player because you don't want that in the back of your head, or else usually it does happen. So,
and I love that you said that, because I know I went through it. Like, you get to a tournament, you don't know the team, you're doing warm up, and you're just kind of like looking over your shoulder. And you're like,
exactly.
Oh my God, man, these guys are big. And I'm not, and there's not saying for one second that you're a small guy. Like, what are you at now, right?
5'9".
Yeah. But back then, I mean, you didn't hit your growth spurt till probably Bantam midget, right? But it's nice to hear you say that, because a lot of the young kids go through that, man. You're going, all of a sudden you get a Bantam. One guy's 6'5", one guy's 5'5", or shorter, and I'm the 5'5" guy, and I got to go against this guy. It is scary, man, for anybody. Even if you're an adult, right? So I think and basically what I'm getting at is it's okay. Yeah, that's part of it, right? And then you learn how to take a hit. You learn how to play the body. You learn how to maneuver. You learn how to get away and escape from guys, right? And then that kind of changes your game a little bit as you get going. And now you look at the way you play. Like, what are your biggest assets right now as an undersized defenseman or a fast mobile defenseman? What are your best assets, you think?
Well, I think with that mindset I said of not being scared, that's a big thing in my game now. Like, I will go into the corner. I like going to the corner, and even if a big guy's on me, I'll try to burn him. You know what I mean? That's I have fun doing that now. Yeah. There's no worry about me being the height I am, and I think that kind of helps me in my game. Just I get so confident on the ice, and I think that's what's gonna help me at the next level. For
sure. And you're one of those guys, and you've heard this saying before, but there's a guy who's 5'9" who plays like he's 5'9". There's guys who's 5'9" who play like they're 6'9", and you're a guy who plays like you're over 6 feet and play hard and tough. Like, look at a guy like Corey Krug. Yeah. I think, you got a lot of similarities to him, right? I think you're different than him, but you got great wheels, you're evasive, like all those little things, which I think are huge. But that started by being young and overcoming some of these little fears and little things like, man, maybe I'm too small. Maybe I'm not going to make this team, and never being the number one guy, because you really weren't, right? And if we go back to that, you went through your minor midget year on a real good group of guys, like real good, and a lot of guys got drafted from Elgin and London. And, out of those 2 AAA teams, there was a ton of guys who get drafted. You didn't get drafted. What was it like going through? Did you kind of know, did you and your parents talk about it a little bit, or coaches talk to you a little bit about, Bryce, maybe he'll go, but there's possibility not? Like, what was that kind of draft day like? Because a lot of the guys I've had on here, like Mitch, or a lot of these guys that are like, it was awesome, man. I couldn't wait. I was going to go in the first round. And for you got, you're one of your best buddies, Mitch. A couple of other good buddies are going to get drafted. You probably know they are. And you're like, man, I don't know. So what was that day like?
Yeah, well, it was tough because you play a whole year behind these guys. Like, guys like Colton White and Mitch Vanisop, who were on my team. And I was like, they're 100% getting drafted. I'm on the bubble. I don't know. And when that day comes, and it kind of sucked that day because I see them all, they're all happy, they're excited, they're getting drafted. And even Diorio, he was one on our team that went the OHL draft. And then I just was waiting on that screen with my parents watching, and my name never showed up. So I think at that point I kind of just stepped back and I said, is the OHL the best route for me? Like, I want to keep playing hockey. And then I decided that I'm going to go play major midget. It's going to suck watching them play, progress their careers in the OHL and stuff. But I was like, maybe there's something better for me. And I didn't know what the NCAA was at the time. I was so young. You're 15, 16 at that age. Yeah. So, and I was lucky enough to go to a spring tournament by myself because these guys were all doing their own kind of thing. And a guy came up to me from prep school, and he was like, hey, we're interested. Like, why don't you should come out and visit, see if you like it. And I had no clue at the time about that either, prep school and stuff. And then, my parents and I talked, we said, that's probably not a good idea. So we went to major midget that year. And then the year after, we went on a visit to Loomis Chaffee. It was a school called, it's down in Connecticut. Yeah. And we basically went there and were so surprised of how crazy the school was. And cool, yeah. It looked like almost like Hogwarts. Like, it was pretty incredible. Yeah. And we had to pay a decent amount of money for it, but I think my parents thought it was going to be a really good idea for me to get better in my hockey career. And like I said, they're awesome. My parents would do anything for me to reach my dream, which was playing the NHL. So I went there, and then my career kind of took off after that. I kind of just kept rolling. A lot of stuff I didn't know. Like, there was a funny USHL story. The guy called me. I didn't even know what the USHL was at the time. And he's like,
and was this when you were at Loomis?
This is at Loomis. Okay. So
you heard rumblings of USHL, like, it's a good league. It's one of the best leagues.
Yeah, exactly.
In the US anyway, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I went over there for 2 months, and you play split season is how it works, because the season's so short in prep school. So they basically bring all the best kids together and make split season teams, and you play against the other teams in the area. So that's when I committed to Providence College, which was a very stressful process because I was there for 2 months, and I was getting a lot of attention from the schools out in the East area. I didn't talk to anyone like Minnesota, Michigan, nothing really like that, but it was just, I kind of cut it down to a few schools, and the process was so stressful. And I know someone, Wendy Glover, contacted me about it. She's like, Ty's freaking out about his whole thing. And I was like, I've been there. So I gave her some advice about it because it was the process does suck. It's kind of like, you have colleges knocking at your door every day, making deadlines, and you're trying to do your schoolwork and stuff in the process. And it was tough. So I went out to Providence, St. Lawrence in New York, and Boston College. I visited a few schools, and I basically just fell in love with Providence at that time. And I chose to commit there, and then they would come out and watch my games at Loomis, and then I got drafted in the USHL. But the guy called me first, and he's like, "Hey, we're thinking about drafting you. Like, would you have any interest in coming?" And I was like, "I don't even know what the USHL is," because it's in such an area like Omaha, Wisconsin, stuff like that, where the East there's no teams out there. So I really had no clue, and then I ended up getting drafted, and I told them, "Listen, I'm probably not going to come." And then same thing happened. I went to a camp there for their main camp. And then I basically was like, maybe this is the best route for me. And I talked to my Providence coaches, and they're like, yeah, that would be a very good idea for your development. So I had a sad conversation with my Loomis coach telling him I had to leave.
Because they thought you had it for 2 years, right?
Well, that was my plan originally. But I went to Omaha. I loved it there. Played a year out there, finished my high school there. So I haven't taken a year off school until, I guess, this year will be my first one. So I went.
Because you went right out as a true freshman.
Yeah.
Or no, you had to redo a little bit of, because when you go down to States to go to Loomis, like a lot of parents don't know this. Well, we'll go back to what you're saying, but a lot of times when you go to prep school out of Canada, they ask you, well, redo a couple classes. So you're almost behind half a year or a year. And then that gives you another year eligibility too, as far as playing in prep school and stuff. So you basically, you've been going hard at school since kindergarten.
So I did grade 9, 10, 11 at South. So major midget year was grade 11. And then, like you said, you have to do a repeat year for some students. I think it depends on your curriculum or what classes you take stuff. So I think because English class in US might be very different than an English class in Canada. So they wanted me to redo. So I did grade 11 there. And then I've been on the move kind of every year until Providence. So I went to Loomis, and then for 1 year, Omaha 1 year, and then went right to Providence. So I did high school at Omaha, which was pretty tough. It was a private school. Yeah, it was good. Uniform every day. It was a new experience for me. And then I went right to Providence after that. I loved Omaha so much that I was talking to my coach after the season. I was like, hey, what do you think about me staying for another year? And he's like, listen, we think you're ready. We need you the next year. So he brought me in. I wanted to stay another year.
Oh, really?
Partially, I think, because my girlfriend was there, and I was just like, I think I could use another year. But no, it was awesome that I went in. I think it helped me a lot. Because that was the year I got drafted. And Lehman was my coach. Was my coach at the time. He just did such a good job.
That's awesome.
Developing me, and it was just like a different experience playing it with older guys and against older guys. Like you come in as I was 18, I could say, 17, 18, and you're playing with, 24-year-olds. So it's kind of
crazy.
A little similarities to pro there, but no, that was a good experience.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And now like when you look at that career, we were talking about how small and crappy you were. No, I'm kidding. No, but undersized, and all of a sudden, kind of rocket ship a little bit.
Yeah.
I know in your living it was long. You're like, man, all my buddies are playing the O, and I'm playing midget AAA. Like that's where no one wants to play. When you think of going through minor midget as a good player and then not getting drafted, you want to try to play B or do something like that. And then all of a sudden, I'm going to be playing major midget, right?
Yeah.
And I remember talking about this. You kind of embraced it though. Like you went there with the mindset that I want to dominate. I want to be good. I want to be one of the best here. You kind of were out of that shadow of the Whiteys and the Vandal Samples and those guys. And I was like, okay, this could be my time to and I think that's kind of what happened, right? You kind of took it and ran with it and had obviously a real good major midget year.
I think that year was very important for me because being behind Whitey and Vandal Sample for so long. And then that was the first year where it was kind of an open field. Like I was like, I can be the best player here. And I think I was one of the best defensemen on my team in major midget. And then I went to Loomis and I had that same confidence, and it just it was a kind of a rolling effect. Like it happened at Omaha. Like I was just like, I can be the best player. It happened in Providence, and I was like, I can be the best player, but I was behind guys there were very good defensemen at Providence who were in front of me, and I was like, I can be better than them, and that was my goal. And I think every year I've just taken a step at trying to gain more confidence in that aspect and trying to be the best player on the ice.
No, it's awesome, and I think I remember when I first started doing the same thing, playing junior, or playing college, or playing pro, and I was like second line center. And I'm like, I want his job, and I like the guy, but I'm like, I'm stealing his job. Maybe it happened, maybe it didn't happen, but that was my goal, is to get to that second line or that third line or that whatever it is, right? Yeah. And I think having that motivation and having that confidence, be like, I think I can play there. And sometimes you look at guys, you're like, that guy's pretty legit. He's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like as you get up level, it's like, okay, I could learn something from this guy, you know? But at the same time, having that confidence that, you know what, one day I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be better than that guy. I'm going to take that guy's spot, you know, and I'm going to be the leader on this team or the captain on this team. And I think that's huge. One thing I want to touch on quick though is you said, you know, you went through that minor midget draft, didn't get drafted to the OHL. So maybe the OHL is not for me. Play midget, have a real good midget year. Now all of a sudden schools are talking a little bit. Loomis is talking a little bit. Yeah. And then now the OHL comes knocking and now they're coming to you and saying, hey, listen, like we'd like to maybe offer you something. And I believe this happening, but once one team kind of started knocking on the door, then there's another team and there's another team. And now there's a couple different teams kind of calling you, talking about maybe coming to the O.
Yeah.
What was that process like for you? Because I know it was a bit of a decision for you and your family as far as we're dead set on, we're 100% going to be going to Loomis. And all of a sudden like, oh wait, we didn't even know we had this option. And okay, now trying to entertain it. But what was that like going through that where the Knights did step up and say, hey, we want to offer you?
Yeah, well, they invited me to camp and I was like, I might as well just go, but I'm 100% going to Loomis. And I had a really good camp. And basically they brought me in after and was like, listen, like we have a spot for you here. We want you to come here. And then I talked to my parents and I was like, this is going to be a tough decision. Like they're telling me this, but at the time I was like, I'm so set on going to college, the college route. Like no one did it at my age. And I was just like, I think it would be something cool. And my dream as a kid was always to play for the London Knights. So it was tough because I go to those games as a kid, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I want to play here. And then, you know, the time kind of passed. I feel like if I got drafted maybe to London or something in the later rounds, and then I was like, okay, this is my dream now. But like, I think the draft kind of changed that. And I was just like, I didn't get drafted. Like maybe an alternative route is better for me. And I just kind of stuck with it. And I was like, maybe I should try this out. And if it doesing go bad, you can always come back. That was a thing. Yeah,
so, great. Yeah, really good call, actually. Yeah,
like you can always go to college and say you don't like it. You can still go to the OHL, but you can't do it vice versa. And I think that was a big thing. I was
That's
like,
a good, really good
I do
point.
not want to ruin my eligibility. What if I don't play there? You know what I mean? Then I could be screwed. So I was like, I can always come back if I don't like prep school. There's always still that option, and they were always still talking to me. You know, trying to get me to like they do. They pull out guys. They're great at it, and so I was like, that's still an option. So I think that was the best case for me, and I had that in the back of my head when I was making my decision.
That's really interesting because, to your point, I never thought about it that way, but you can always come back. And let's say Loomis wasn't good and you didn't like it, you weren't playing a lot, then I'll just go back and try to play on the Knights and see what happens, right? But even like for your family and you to go through that and having a dream of playing for the Knights and they come knock and they offer you, I think like a good package, good school package to go there, basically offer you a bit of a scholarship to play, which is normal. Like this isn't off the charts, but real good deal for an undrafted free agent. Yeah. And you're like, I'm kind of set on this. And the fact that you reshifted your goals. And that's one thing I think is really important for young kids where maybe life throws you, maybe hockey life throws you a little bit of a wrench. Okay, well, how do you readjust on that? So you didn't get drafted and you're like, I'm small. Maybe I need a couple more years of development. You know what? I'm going to go college route, which you're right for this area. Everyone's got OHL eyes. Everyone wants to make the OHL. And for you to kind of go off that a little bit and saying, you know what, I'm going to college and sticking with it is pretty impressive, really, because a lot of guys would have got lured by a nice jersey and, a hat and the locker room down the road, right?
Yeah, well, there's so many alternatives to getting to the NHL than just playing the OHL. And I think a lot of kids are starting to realize that. Like, it's kind of taking off in Canada for kids going to the NCAA, which is a good thing because you get your education while you play, which is a big thing. I know a lot of guys that do it and they love it. And, when they're done playing hockey, they have that degree to fall back on. But I think a big thing is for parents is to notice that there isn't just one route to get to the NHL. You see 100 different guys do it different ways. And I think that's important to note that if one thing doesn't work out, there's always alternatives that you can still, the dream's never going to end unless you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally. I think that's and you're right. There's so many avenues.
Yeah.
But we're like, sometimes we're stuck that, well, you got to go play midget and then get drafted to the O, play the O, go to the NHL.
Exactly.
And it's a process, right? Yeah. But I think also too, getting educated on it. Like I remember sitting with your family. I remember Scott sitting with your family a bunch and just chatting, just talking about, well, what about this? What about that? And you guys had questions. We had maybe some answers. And if we didn't, we try to find them out. But, getting people around you. Now, when you were going through this process, I know we had chatted and Scott and Scott Jones and your family chatted a lot. Did you have an agent or an advisor or anybody like that? Because that's another question a lot of kids get, right? I'm in Bantam. Do I need an agent? I'm in midget. Do I need an agent? Like, did you have an agent or an advisor really?
I don't think I did until I got to Loomis.
Okay.
And once I started, opening up some eyes for college, I basically got one. It was a school advisor to help me pick a good school.
Yeah.
Basically is what I kind of had him for. And he helped me make that decision. This is probably where you're going to play. This is probably the best decision for you. And then, once I don't think we really talked anymore after school. Once I got to Providence,
Right.
And I'm with an agent now that I met out there. He's from St. Louis, so yeah. So he basically helped me pick a school, but I didn't think it was a big thing in minor midget. It's not going to help you that much to try to get drafted or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It may help you get certain people watching you, stuff like that, but. For me, it was just I kind of lucked out with that one guy coming to my game, and then I kind of just opened up this whole avenue for me. So
I totally agree with you. I think sometimes an agent is definitely helpful. If you're a top end pick, it's helpful for sure. And it gives you some hype sometimes. But if you can't play, right? I don't care if you get drafted in the first round or 10th round. If you can't play,
there's only so much.
Yeah, you're the product, right? So it gets you drafted in the 5th round because you have an agent, but you're not very good. Then it doesn't really matter. You know? So I think. You kind of did it the right way where you were getting better and better and better and better. And, now you have an agent to basically help you, advise you on what doors to take.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
At the end of the day, your skill set proved that you could play, at all those levels. When you look at your roster from the 97 minor midget team, right? Because I've done this on like my midget team when I was young in Sudbury and playing, but you look at that roster, you think of the guys in your head. Out of all those guys, right? How many guys got drafted in the NHL? Because a lot of them got drafted to the OHL, but how many guys got drafted to the NHL?
Are you talking about like Elgin too?
No, let's just say just your 97.
Three of us?
Yeah. So Whitey,
Mitch,
and yourself, right? So you think of a roster of 18, 19 kids, 3 got drafted to the NHL. And how many of those guys roughly are probably not even playing anymore, which is totally fine, but like got jobs, went to school, like totally fine. But you think that's the best, one of the best, teams in the area at that age. There's probably, I don't know if you know offhand, but I'm going to assume there's at least a handful or more that are not even playing anymore.
There's only a few playing still, I think. Probably 3 or 4 that are still in universities, Canadian universities now.
So just kind of puts in perspective. You guys had a sick team, by the way, and a sick age group, but and there's nothing wrong with like, I'm going to go to school and not worry about hockey anymore. Like there's nothing wrong with that. But at that point, at that minor midget time, if we went back to that point in time, what did every single one of those, let's say maybe a couple didn't, but most of those kids wanted to try to play in the NHL, right? And that was their goal. And that was with the OHL, NHL, junior, whatever it is, right? Now you look at things change, whatever, but it's so hard.
Yeah, it is.
Right? Really, when you look at it, like it's a lot of hard work. Now, if you love it, it's not really work. It's just like come in, I work out, I train, I skate, but it's, it's when you look back retrospectively like that and you're like, holy smokes, man. Like I'm one of 3 that got drafted. Yeah. Like that's unbelievable. And you were a bubble guy. You were a small defenseman that should have never played on that team. That should have not. But you talked to half the parents should have got cut. This is politics, right? And your guy stuck with it. So I don't know. It's cool. And whenever I talk about your story, I'm like, it's an unbelievable story because it's just should have never happened. According to the laws of hockey, it should never happen. But it happened because you worked hard and made some right decisions. And the fact that you stuck with what you were going to do with Loomis and stuff and went that road, I think to your point right at the start, you said this like. Huge factor in why and where and what happened. You know what I mean? For sure. Now going to Providence, you get to a school, you're a young guy, you get some opportunity, obviously your first year in play. What was it like as far as just like getting around some of those older guys now? Because in Loomis, you're kind of a 1 or 2 age groups, maybe 3, but you get there, like you said, you have 23, 24-year-olds. What was it like as far as kind of fitting in and navigating? Because you end up becoming captain of that team down the road, but when you first got there, was it kind of intimidating? Was it weird? Was it just like trying to find your way?
Yeah, I think it's very similar to pros because I was able to go, I don't know if you noticed, I was able to go to Rochester for 2 weeks after the season. And there's kind of some similarities there of just, coming into a new team and, there's older guys. And that was my first time playing with older guys. So I was like seeing these senior guys that are 5 years older than you, like it can be pretty scary. And, you're known as a rookie, a freshman, but no, you get to know them very well. And 3 years went by and I was able to, step in their position kind of. And so I learned kind of how to treat the freshmen. I was like, I don't want myself to feel how I did freshman year. Not to say that was a bad senior class or anything. I just like, all freshmen are going to be a little intimidated, especially if you're younger. So as a junior this year and sophomore last year, like you try to be as welcoming as you can and make them feel at home because you don't want them to experience not like it's not like I experienced something bad, but you just want them to feel, you want them to feel included. You know what I mean? So
I think that's so, I think it's obviously maturity, but that's the one thing, man, and I went through it years ago, but you had some seniors that were just like assholes.
Yeah.
Like, why?
It happens everywhere.
And to your point, like it's almost like they forgot what it was like to be that freshman, being in there, not knowing where to put your bag, not knowing where to sit on the bus or whatever. And you have a senior that comes up to you and like, hey buddy, how's it going, man? How's school going? How's class going? Like night and day experience. And all you gotta do is just kind of be a nice guy, which isn't hard to do, right? Now going into pro, so this, you finish up your 3 years and you end up leaving early. So Buffalo offers you a contract and you decide, you know what, I think I'm ready. Which, obviously I'm assuming you talked to your coaching staff a little bit about this.
Yeah.
And they probably weren't too happy about it.
No, I'd say I've probably had the Loomis decision leaving to the USHL, the OHL and the Loomis decision making that one to go to the US. And then this one was by far the hardest one that I've ever made in my life. Because, you got Buffalo pulling one way and then you got your coaches that are like, you probably should come back. You're going to
be captain, anchoring everything.
They just try to tell, both teams try to tell you everything. You know what I mean? That's how it works. And it's heartbreaking when you have to tell their coaches like, hey, I'm leaving. Like I had probably 4 sit downs with them, all of them included. And, it was tough. It was a tough decision to make, but I think that was what's best for my development. And, after the fact, the coaches were all so happy for me.
Yeah, good.
Sent me congratulations text, stuff like that. They want to see where I'm going to go. And I thank them for that because, some coaches can be like, you shouldn't have done this, you shouldn't have left, but you don't want them to be like that. You know what I mean? You want to make yourself feel like you made the right decision. So, it's helpful that they're like that.
Oh, for sure. That's huge. When you were meeting with them, was it just you and like 3 or 4 coaches basically sitting down and talking?
Yeah.
So they just roundtable
There were
you?
4 guys on my team that left this year.
Oh,
all
okay.
of my junior class. So I've been with them for 3 years now, and we were all kind of like, talking about it, as the season was coming to an end. But we made it pretty far, and it was good for our team. But we all went in the same day, I think, 10 minutes after each other, all the coaches.
No
we
way.
thought that he was going to be super. Because I don't think he knew. I just basically texted him like, hey, can I meet with you tomorrow just to talk about next year? And so I don't think he knew that it was coming, but I think he had an idea that a few of us might leave, but I don't think he knew all 4 of us were going to. Yeah, so
that's a huge hole.
I texted him first, and then I talked to him. Everybody's like, oh yeah, we're going to meet with him too tomorrow. I was like, oh no, this could be so bad because he might be in a terrible mood. So I was kind of scared going in there.
For sure.
I was about to walk in there, and then I heard them talking like, I don't think this guy's going to leave. And I walked back, was like, okay, I can't do it yet. Then I go back in, and they kept saying stuff like, I think we got this guy, like he's going to come back for sure. And I just kept like, it's like, oh my God, I cannot go in there yet. And eventually I walked in there, and, they basically said like, what's your plan for next year? And I was like, I'm having thoughts of leaving. Like, I think it would be best for me. And then, basically what I wanted to say in that meeting, I didn't even get to say it because they were just filling my ears with all this knowledge.
Oh, for sure.
What I could be next year. Guys that have gone to the NHL and haven't worked out. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So that was a tough decision for me, and I think all my friends in my class as well. Like, we all took 3-4 days, and then one of them took almost a month because he just got surgery, but he didn't make his decision until last week. After the season ended. So.
Yeah, that's tough, man.
It was, yeah.
Those are hard conversations to have too. Like as a young
gosh.
man, you're telling this school that invested in you and you love it, the good coaches, awesome program, and you're like, man, and what were 1 or 2 of the biggest factors in why you decided, I'm not going to finish my 4th year and I'm going to go and I'm going to sign kind of a pro deal and kind of leave college?
I think a big thing is where I'm at right now with Buffalo. It's probably one of the best organizations I could be with, I think, in the NHL, especially for, defensemen. I think that's a great spot to land. They don't have too many prospects, things like that. And I spoke with the staff a lot and development guys, and I think I have a good chance. They like my playing style, and I think I'm a good fit there. So that's definitely a big thing, is the spot where I'm at. It's close to home. Like, that's awesome.
It's huge.
Both Buffalo and Rochester are both 2.5, 3 hours. So I'm able to see my parents more. My family more, rather than having 9 hours in Providence. And I think the second thing was just for me to develop. I spoke with my coaches, and I think that, I put up consistently a decent amount of points, not saying points are everything, but, I've kind of gone on the uphill all 3 years at Providence, and I was like, how much better am I going to get playing that 4th year? So I think that was a big thing. And I was like, I think I can learn a lot of things from these veterans that have been in the league for a long time. And I think if I want to get really good as a player, I think this is the next step I should take this year.
Yeah.
So even doing a 4th year probably wouldn't have hurt me. I think I still could have got better, but I think I can just get a lot better, playing pros where, there's only a little room to get better in college, but it probably would have worked out going the 4th year too. But I was just like, I think I'm ready for this.
Yeah.
And I think with those 2 things put together, I was like, this is probably what's best for me. So.
No, and I probably, not that you've mastered college hockey or that, but like a bigger challenge,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And I think sometimes for young guys like yourself that do it, it's learning the pro game a little bit quicker. So why not learn it a year earlier? I feel like I'm strong enough, I'm fast enough. Now I can understand and learn it, because the pro game is different than college, right? Just like junior is different than college. Yeah, every time you go up, it changes a little bit. And the faster you can learn that pro game, then, and hopefully the faster you can get to the NHL or get an opportunity. And, and I think that's huge.
Yeah. And I think that's what helped me a lot, is going up for Rochester for just even 2 weeks.
Sure.
I got to, learn the pro style a little bit and, kind of jumped ahead of the game a little bit rather than going in next year with a whole fresh start. I've been there for 2 weeks now, so I kind of know, I've been beating practice when I went up there, guys were beating me, but like now I know what to expect when I go there next year. So,
yeah. So the process for you now is just so parents kind of are aware, like you went to school, had a full scholarship, unbelievable, played for 3 years, were drafted by Buffalo. That was out of the USHL, correct?
No, first year after, after freshman year.
Oh, it was? That's right.
So I missed my draft year.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. So
I
that's
missed
the
my
other
draft
thing.
year again in the NHL, and then I didn't even expect.
Okay, let's talk about that a little bit. Okay. So the 97s all go through their draft, which you're not eligible for anyway, because you're a late birthday. So you got to go in the following year's draft. And for anyone who doesn't know, September 15th is that cutoff. So anybody after that goes in the following year. So you go, I remember seeing you in Florida, Mitch and all those guys got drafted. Exactly. There. It was awesome. And then the next year's kind of your turn, and you're like, oh man, maybe. And then that season though, for your draft year season, you were in Omaha, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think I was kind of at the same spot as I was in the OHL draft, like kind of on the bubble. Like, they might. I had an agent at the time. They're like
some teams were talking about,
I filled out those questionnaires and all that stuff. So I was like, oh, I got a good chance of being drafted. So I watched it again, similar to the OHL, and I didn't see my name for the second time in a few years. And I was like, oh my God, like this is the same feeling I had 4 or 5 years ago. And then after my freshman year, it was the opposite. I was like, don't think I'm getting drafted. There's still talk and stuff. Did those questionnaires again. And I was basically, I had on the TV, but it was so different this time because I wasn't even really watching. I was just like kind of with my parents. We were out in the patio, like out back and everything. And then I got a text from my agent. He's like, congrats at 99. And the TV wasn't loaded yet.
No way.
I opened up my phone. And I was like, Mom, I think I just got drafted. And they're like, no, you didn't. And then the TV was, 5 seconds away. So it popped up. And I was like, wow, like, it was so like, it was almost better feeling than knowing you're going to get drafted rather than just like, it kind of just happened.
Yeah. That anticipation and then not getting it and then not knowing, be like, whoa. Yeah.
It was kind of crazy because I think they didn't have a pick in the 5th or 6th round. So they were like, we should probably get this kid in the 4th or we risk it for the 7th. So I think that's what the dilemma or the scenario that it was. And I was so surprised, go that early and even see my name at that time. So I wasn't really watching at all. I thought I was going to be a maybe late round pick. Like I didn't even know because I was at that time. I think I was going to go to a camp anyways, just for
like going to like get an invite. Yeah, so, right for sure.
Yeah, no, that was crazy.
That's amazing. That's really cool. And then like so for people that don't know, obviously you got basically 2 shots to get drafted in the NHL. So you got your draft year, and then usually it does happen that some kids do get drafted the next year after the draft year. Not common, but it does happen. And for you, obviously you went to Providence and did well your freshman year. Like there was obviously scouts watching you in NHL, watching college hockey. Yeah. And, you must have impressed a little bit. What were some of the biggest skills that you felt translated from like that you had out of Omaha and just kind of out of the way you played that translated well to the NCAA? And what are a couple of skills that you like, whoa, I need to get better at that when you look at kind of your play?
I stepped in to practice the first day and defending was the biggest thing because, I was a small guy. I was known as an offensive defenseman. And I think Providence kind of changed me into a 2-way defenseman a little bit. Okay. Like I can still provide offense, but I think a big thing is trying to be good at defense. You know what I mean? Because teams don't want guys that can put up points but can't play defense. And I think that was a big thing that, Lehman, my coach at the time, made sure all his defense were very good at. Like we didn't even practice offense at all. Like no ozone play or anything really. It was just basically battle drills, defense. And now I look back at it, I'm like, holy, that has helped me so much. And I think that was by far the biggest thing I needed to work on. And he knew that. And I think my game in that aspect kind of took off. But I think playing against older guys in Omaha, like you do in the OHL and stuff, was good for me to get, a little bit ahead of the game before going to Providence. Because if my plan was to go straight from prep school originally. Like I was like, I'm just going to prep school, then Omaha, then Providence. But that would have been very tough. You play against 19 or 18, 17-year-olds in prep school and then going to Providence playing against 24-year-olds. That would have been, I think, my freshman campaign probably wouldn't have been as good as it was. Yeah. And, that's where I got drafted. Because if you have a really good freshman year, I think, teams look at that and they're like, this guy can, if he's playing as a freshman against these older guys for his first year and he's doing well, then he's probably going to be a good player.
Yeah, you kind of get on the radar a bit, right?
exactly.
Even as a free agent down the road, they're going to kind of keep an eye on you and see what happens. And also, too, I'm going to assume going from Loomis to the USHL, it's quite a jump in leagues. Like the USHL is solid and it's competitive, and not to say Loomis wasn't, but it's a different brand of hockey, and obviously you got a lot of scholarship players there that are waiting to go, and it's a pretty intense league for sure.
Yeah, USHL is a very good league. You see so many commit. Almost every kid is committed there now, and like I said, I think a lot of the Canadian kids are trying to go over there. Kind of get that experience, because I'd say it's probably similar to the OHL. I guess I don't know where the OHL will be at NCAA wise, like if they're similar or not. But no, if you want to go to the NCAA, I think the USHL is a great route, because there's so many kids that are already committed and they go to watch their players and they see, they see you play and they're like, oh, we want that kid too. Yeah. So I think that's a great stepping stone for any kids wanting to go to the NCAA route. Like USHL is a great league.
And that's one of the biggest things is there's so many scouts watching. It's like in Canada, the BCJ is a good league, obviously, but there's a lot of scouts that are out there watching and recruiting out of that league. So the more scouts are there, the more opportunities are going to be for those kids, right? So yeah, I think it's huge. Now, if you had to go back, let's say you're right now, who you are now, and you had to go back to that Bantam Bryce and say, hey, like you got to focus on these 1 or 2, 3 things. Could be mental game, could be working out, could be whatever, right? What are a couple of things that you give advice to that young guy saying, you know what, you're pipsqueak right now, you haven't grown yet, like whatever, but if you stick with this and this, or you get better at this and this is going to help you now, kind of knowing what you know now,
Yeah, I think the biggest thing would probably be the mental game. I had a good mindset back then. Like I said, I explained to you earlier, but I think it would be, have that mindset still, because that was probably the biggest thing that got me to where I am today is, I can do this. Like, I'm a small guy, but I can still do this. Like, there is room for me somewhere. Yeah. And I think that's, my whole journey that I've been on, like that's always been in the back of my head. And I think that was a big thing. And then we worked out a lot back then. And I think that's a big thing for kids now. You got to be strong. And especially as a small guy, I knew that. So in every interview I do nowadays is how do you play at your size? I think that's the biggest thing is I know how to defend guys that are 6 foot, bigger guys. I've learned over time and through experiences that I need, if I want to play at 5'9", I got to be pretty strong. So that's why I come here, work out every day at TPH. Is I want to get to that level where, I can push those guys around. And like you said, play at someone that's like 6'5". I don't want to play at 5'9", but I want to feel like I'm 6'5".
For sure. Yeah.
So those are probably 2 big things that I would tell younger guys.
And I think the mental part of the game is something that is obviously very mainstream now. Everyone talks about it and stuff, but it's such an important piece. I feel like a lot of times the mental part of the game is helped by parents and by who you surround yourself with, whether it's friends or mentors, whatever it is, coaches, doesn't really matter. But, I'm going to assume growing up, there wasn't a lot of excuses for you. You couldn't have a bad game or whatever it was and not say, hey, mom, dad, sorry, I just didn't feel it today. You know what I mean? Like there's a certain accountability there for how you were playing or how you were acting and things like that. And I think that's a huge piece of battling through some of this mental stuff and, owning it. Yeah. Maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe I was too small. Like that's, not that that's on you, but you can only handle what you can handle. You can only, whatever, there's certain things that you're going to be able to work on and do. And there's certain things that are out of your hands and you got to be able to handle what you can handle. Right. And I think that's a big thing for any young guy going up is, all right, own it. Make sure that you're fit. Make sure that you're skating well. Make sure that your shot's good. Make sure all those things that you can control. And I think a lot of times, especially nowadays, a lot of the young kids have a lot of excuses. Mom and dad have excuses, and I think that's what makes it tough, as they get through some of these other obstacles. Did you have any times in your career that you were kind of out of it, that you were kind of down in the dumps and like, you know what, man, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I'm going through a time where I'm going to sell the skates.
Honestly, not. Like I had with that 97 age group I had such a good friend group, Colton White, Sapula, all these guys, like we were all so close to each other. We always hung out. We played in the same soccer team. Like, so that was kind of like, I never wanted to leave those guys. And I was like, and that's when I think I just kept falling in love with hockey more and more is because I'm playing with the guys I loved every day. Yeah. And then even when they took off, I was like, then that kind of the real journey started where I was like, if I want to play pro, like I gotta be on my own. You know what I mean? I gotta make new friends. And that's kind of where it just took off and it was fun. I had fun doing it in major midget. I had to meet new people and stuff. And then I was like, I enjoyed that. So I went to Loomis, made new friends, new people. And I've met so many people now because I've just been kind of bouncing around. But you know,
do you think that kind of got you out of your shell a little bit? Because
Yeah.
like you had buddies that were you're so tight with, you probably didn't have to talk. You just like gave them a look and they knew what you were saying. You know what I mean?
I think I was a pretty shy kid growing up too,
Yeah.
you know, just being kind of smaller. You might have experienced this. You're just
For
like,
sure.
you're kind of, you know, you're kind of shy, like, and that was a big thing. And then, yeah, like I said, it kind of just took off once I saw all of them go, and I was like, I got to come out of my shell here, and I got to meet some new people and make some new friends. And every year I did that. And I think, yeah, it's been awesome.
Oh, it's cool, man. It's really cool. And a couple last things, but what was it like moving to the States? So being from London, Ontario, born and raised here, obviously traveled around a little bit for hockey and stuff like that. But when you first moved down to the States, what were some of your first, like, was it way different? Did you find it kind of like, you know, obviously it's very similar to Canada, let's be honest, but were there any things where you're like, whoa, this is very different, or this is pretty cool, or even going to a private school? Obviously private school, there's, you know, different weight class when it comes to finances and stuff like that. Right.
Yeah. I think where I was in the States was awesome because it was Connecticut, and I've kind of stuck over there in the East for the whole time. And, you know, you're next to water all the time.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing was I had a built family there, kind of not a built family, but when I went there, since I was leaving my parents, so split season, one of the kids that went to Loomis was on my split season team, and I just met him, and I basically went to his house every weekend, and we'd go back and forth together to school, and then split season on the weekends.
Cool. Yeah.
And I've been good friends with him ever since. I'm going to see him in July.
Nice.
We've just, you know, he doesn't play hockey anymore, but
Yeah.
his brothers do, but we were good friends, and there was a goalie too who went to Loomis, so we traveled together kind of in a pack. But you know, we go boating on the weekends.
Sweet, yeah.
One of our goalie, he owns a lobster company, so we go on his boat. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
have all these lobsters. Like, it was pretty cool. It's just,
That's
it was
awesome,
just kind
yeah.
of like a different lifestyle. You know what I mean? Like, it
Yeah.
kind of felt like I was living a luxury life because our school was so nice, and then I go there on the weekends, and you know, we'd do such cool stuff. But
Yeah.
I think the big thing was moving away from my parents, learning how to, you know, deal with that, which a lot of kids do at juniors, but that was my first year, moving away from home. And I don't know, I've gotten so used to it now, but
Yeah.
I always love coming home for summer and being able to spend time with my family. So.
When you first moved away, did you go through a couple weeks of like just going through that kind of lull of being like, man, like what are my buddies doing back home right now? And like, what's everyone doing at South High School? And like, was there a little bit of that?
Yeah, I think for my first few weeks, I felt a little lonely. I hadn't met people yet, but I just moved in with my roommate. That was really the only one I knew. But, you know, I kind of grew out of my shell there too and started making some new friends. Obviously the hockey guys, but you know, I did miss the guys from home because I was leaving my high school when I went to South, and I was like, I felt bad because I still talk to them now, but you know, we were going into senior year, and I was like, do I really want to do this? But
Yeah.
you know, I still talk to them. I'm still friends with them now, and I think that's a big thing is, you know, keeping old connections because you never know where they're going to end up. So
One thing I noticed when I started moving away, because is whenever I come back to London or Sudbury, I'm from Sudbury. Whenever I come back to Sudbury, I used to have like a huge pool of buddies. They could all hang out, party, whatever on the weekends. And then as I moved and come back for the summers, they kind of got smaller. People were leaving. I don't know if you noticed this, but like every summer, and then you kind of get it dwindled down to your tight buddies that, you know, you're kind of close with. And I also realized that some people are just doing the same thing all the time. I'm not really missing anything by being away. You know, I'm able to experience different places, different cities, different people, but my buddies are kind of still doing a lot of the same stuff that they were doing 3 years ago. You know?
That's the same thing. But I think going away and then coming home to see your old friends, it's kind of nice because you have so much to catch up on. You know what I mean? And I think I have different group of friends here. You know, I have guys from South, and then I have my old buddies that we played our 97 age group. And then I've met kids here at TPH who I'm probably best friends with now, like Jonesy, Kairu, you know, those guys. Like, I'm waiting for them to come home so I can hang out with them. So it's just Mitch and I right now, and Cole. But, no, it should be good.
No, it's great. And it's fun. Like, obviously you've totally expanded your horizons when you think of being in London and playing your whole life. And then all of a sudden the last 5 years been traveling and visiting and checking out new places. Now, what's your mentality like? Kind of last thing here, but what's your mentality like now going into development camp? Because you've gone to a bunch of development camps for Buffalo. Now you're going into development camp as a signed player. So you're going a little bit different this year. You know what to expect. What are your goals going there? Like, you know, obviously it's a long week and, you know, it's a bit of a grind sometimes, but I'm going to assume your mentality is a little bit different this year than knowing you're going to go back to college.
Yeah. Well, the last 2 years that I've been there, it's kind of just, you go there for a weekend, you know, just kind of get better, meet some new people, meet the staff, and then you're going to college. There's nothing after that. But now this year it is different. Like, I haven't really thought about it too much, but I think this is I look at it as more of now an opportunity. You know, I got to get better when I go there. I got to make an impact, because I'm going to be going to rookie main camp this year. And, I kind of want to get better every time I go to Buffalo. I want to be a better player. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. Like this year is an opportunity for me to play in the NHL, and I'm going to try to do what I can to, make that jump.
Yeah. And how excited are you to kind of be, I don't want to say done with school because school is awesome, but having like a little bit more free time and just focusing 100% on kind of what you loved your whole life, but just focusing on hockey. How exciting is that?
Yeah, I forgot to touch on this. So I did leave early, but I have 9 classes left. Just for people that want to know.
Oh, this is for your mom, but go ahead, tell it.
I'm still taking classes right now.
Yeah.
So I'm doing one this summer, and then I'm going to try to do it, just knock them out. I'm going to have 8 after this.
It's awesome.
So I'll probably try to do 2 every summer. Just this summer, just want to, it's first year of pro. I kind of want to take it a little slow, do all the stuff I need to do, and then maybe this year I'll take a few, and then because you got so much free time, like you said, in the pros, and then every summer take 2 until I catch up. And I think I might have 2 that are in class. So maybe if in a summer I get to go there or something, or after my career's then I get to go back. But I am going to get my degree. I made that promise.
Okay, we are holding this to you. I'm going to send you this clip like every year. Be like, hey, Bryce, have you done 2 classes this year? Because I think that's solid. And I think playing pro with a degree in your back pocket is huge. Because when things get bad or get injured, whatever, hopefully none of that ever happens. But if it doesn't go right and you're like, you know what, man, I'm just going to get a job. I'm going to go. You always kind of have that. Which is awesome. Which I think is obviously. It'd be nice if more guys did it. The only thing that's hard is that the NHL season is not that easy. I know we all look at it and we're like, it's a joke, man. All they do is practice and play. Yeah. I mean, they travel a ton. It is a bit of a grind. And I mean, we're talking like, if you worked in a mine up in Sudbury, that sucks. That's a grind. If you're, working in some factory, that's a grind. That sucks. You're playing the NHL. It's a lot of fun, but it is still a lot, right? So, but compared to college, sometimes it's awesome.
Mitch and I have these arguments in the car sometimes where he'd be like, why do you want to work out and skate today? I'm like, I only played 30 games last year. He's like, yeah, but you're going to a full pro season. Like, I don't get that yet because I haven't been there. You know what I mean? I play 30 games a season, practice all through the week, but it's not the same as playing 82 games. You know what I mean? So I think I'll get more of that next year, and I'll probably understand where he's coming from, like to take more time off, stuff like that. But at this, stage, I kind of brought him into the gym. Like he didn't want to come in yet, but I was like, we're going. Like,
But I think too, Bryce, like you're gonna find that like you're different than John. John's different than
exactly.
So I think what you need might be different than what other guys need. Like for instance, when I was playing pro, I used to try to jog once a week just because I felt better, not because I needed to like get cardio fit or anything like that. I felt better when I was on the ice, and that was just the way I played. Like that was what I liked. No one else did that, but I try to go 1 or depending on the schedule or whatever. But and I needed to be in the gym. I needed to be in the gym a couple times a week, and that was just for me. But other guys are like, they needed rest, they needed naps, maybe they were lazy a bit, but some of them were just that's what they needed, right? And I think for you, you'll figure it out. Like once you get into pro, and I agree with Mitch though, it is a long season.
Yeah, exactly.
So you want to make sure that you take care of your body. Maybe if you have a day off, maybe take the day off. And kind of because I think it is important to have some longevity as well, right? You want to be able to play those 82 games or those 76 games or however many games are in that season. You want to be able to, you don't want to be getting hurt for 2 or 3 of them just because you're getting tweaked here and there.
Yeah. I was going to answer your question. Oh, I'm excited to. Not leave college, but, make that next step to the pros. Still going to take classes, but I think the biggest thing I'm excited for is this is probably the first time where I'm actually caught up with guys like Mitch, Colton,
right.
For 7 years, they've always been kind of, a step ahead, but I think this is going to be the first year where I'm actually on the same level as them. You know what I mean? Like back to where it was. And
that's really cool. I never thought of that. Yeah.
So I think that's a big point. Like,
is that something that's kind of been in your mind? Not that you're like, I'm going to catch you guys or because it's not like that. I mean, college is unbelievable, but now you're right. Like now you're all playing pro hockey kind of right around the same level. Is this something that's kind of always been on your mind as far as like one day, because your route, like their route was maybe this and your route went a little bit, straight line, yours is a little bit on the outside.
Yeah, exactly.
But now you're back.
I always keep tabs on, my best friends.
For sure.
I've always watched them and now I can kind of say like, oh, I'm at the same level as you guys now. Like this is pretty crazy. Like, no, it's
so. If you start off, because you guys are all D-man for those 3 guys you just mentioned, like Colton White with Jersey, and then Mitch with the Long Islanders, and then yourself. So let's say you start off the season this year wherever you are, and you end up getting like let's say 2 points in the first 4 games. Are you going to text and be like, "Hey boys, I got 2. What do you guys got?"
Definitely me. It's going to be a competition.
Yeah, I guarantee all year. 4 block shots, bud. What did you get today?
Yeah, wait till you play each other.
For
the first time. I've never played against
each other
before.
You guys have always been teammates, right? Like
none of us, like me, Whitey.
Yeah.
None of us.
Yeah.
The 3 of us have never played. Well, I guess Mitch and Colton have now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be the first time. So I think
awesome.
my parents are definitely going to come to that one.
This is cool though. Yeah, it's a really cool new chapter. I'm pumped for you though, buddy. And I really appreciate you coming by. This is awesome. And I think you've got a really, really cool story. And a lot of young kids go through minor hockey, you know, feeling maybe undersized. Maybe they're too tall, maybe they're overweight, whatever it is. But man, if you stick with it and work at it and kind of, I think the one thing that you've done a good job of is kind of set your goals and you stuck with them. And you've never kind of veered much from the plan, meaning you've always had work ethic. You've always done the right things. You've always, and your trajectory, we were talking about it the other day in the hall, like your trajectory has been up and up and up and up and up, where some guys kind of plateau a bit or come up a bit and get a little bit better and, you know, retract a little bit. Yeah. You've always kind of been on a steady uphill climb, which has been awesome. So I'm pumped for you. I'm really, really excited to see how development camp goes for you and then how main camp and how everything kind of plays out, you know, for your first year pro, which will be super exciting.
Yeah.
So
should be a fun summer, but
so you got to send a jersey in and your first paycheck. And other than that, you're good, right? You're good. Hey, how about this though? How about like getting a check, a decent sized check to play hockey? How's that?
Yeah, it's nice. You know, one, seeing all my friends, Mitch and them, have money. Yeah. And you don't, you kind of feel bad if they're paying for you or something like that. But yeah, I think coming out of college where you don't really, you don't make money there. You know, in the OHL, you make money. College, you really don't get anything. So yeah, it's kind of like a lot when you get that first paycheck and you're like, holy, I'm starting to be an adult now. You know what I mean? Like it is crazy to think about it. Like, yeah, you got your money now and, you know, you got to learn some things like at college that I never learned how to cook. So I got to do that this summer. Like there's a lot of things I got to, you know, I didn't drive in college. Like I'm going to start driving back here. And like, it's just some colleges are different, but where I was at, it was so small. Everything was there. Couldn't live off campus. So you never got the chance to cook. You never got the chance to drive. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think this is going to be a big summer. Just, you know, getting used to that pro lifestyle and, you know, being an adult. So yeah. So you got some growing up to do this summer. Oh yeah. A lot of work. Oh, that's great. Well, thanks a lot, buddy. I appreciate it, man. It's awesome. Thanks for having me. Oh, that's great.